Hi guys, welcome back everyone. So I decided to make this video outdoors since the lighting inside was terrible. And so one of the very first things that we need to do is make sure that we have our cutting like so. And what I like to do is to cut as close to the node as possible at an angle. There we go, just like that. And sometimes I will use rooting hormone. I just use this cheap powdery rooting hormone. Garden Safe is the brand, but I don't really think it makes any difference, or it doesn't matter what brand it is. And I'll take my Fig Pop bag, and I will use a scooper to scoop in a little bit of soil at a time, just like so. Just kind of fill it up with soil like so. And you don't really need to put that much, especially for this cutting, the one that we have currently. Maybe 3 or 4 scoops is good enough. Okay. Something like that. Okay. If you find that your medium is much less than the height of the bag, you can always add a little more medium, or you can simply roll the bag back. Okay. And what I like to do is I like to put the cutting in as deep as I can. That way there's more points of contact between the cutting and the soil. Okay, so once that is done, you can take a rubber band and wrap it close to the base of the cutting, or you can just take a piece of string, which is exactly what I'm going to do, and you can wrap that around your cutting as well. Both are fine. There's no right or wrong, whatever you prefer. I just use some cheap twine that I sometimes recycle, actually. Now this medium that I'm using is just compost, as I mentioned earlier, but make sure it is moist enough, but not too moist, so that it doesn't rot your cutting. And that's all you need to do, really. And I tie this string around it. Sorry for the shaky video. And that's all you need, really. Now for the part of the cutting that is exposed to air, since we'll be growing these indoors, I'll take just a little bit of parafilm. You really don't need a lot. That's about enough. And I will go back in here, and I'll make sure that for the most part, this thing is covered. You can also do this before you bury it. The reason I don't do it before is because sometimes I do not know exactly where the soil level will be, and I only want to wrap the part that is above the soil so that there are more points of contact. And of course, the most important part is to take a Sharpie and to write right here that this is actually a Piatto Gigante. And I also like to put the date that I took the cutting. That way I know exactly when I took the cutting. And I should be expecting roots approximately 3 to 4 weeks after, if I keep this indoors where the conditions are nice and warm. So yeah, that's how I do the Fig Pop method. Just make sure your moisture is good enough, and of course you can add a little bit more moisture. You can put tap water. I use bottled water because I think tap water might have a chlorine or other chemicals that might hinder root growth, but that could be just my bias. I'm sure it makes no difference at all. Okay guys, so that is just one of them. I'll see if I can make a few more videos with cuttings that actually have leaves on them and that are a little bit longer, since this one was kind of on the easy side. And then I'll also show you guys how I go about to label them using just tape and a Sharpie. Okay, but that really is up to you, however you wish to do it. All right guys, so I'll go ahead and I'll pause the video right there and see if we can do another one. So for something like this, I'll just take just simple painter's tape, masking tape, whatever you call it, and I will put the name of the fig cutting, and then maybe the date that I first took the cutting, and I'll just go on ahead and tape it right onto the bag. Now, why don't I just write it directly onto the bag? Well, the reason is the Sharpie is black colored, and the soil is also black, and so there isn't enough contrast for me to see what the name of the cutting is and what date it was. So that is how I would do a cutting that is just, short little cutting with maybe small chances of survival. But we did add a little bit of rooting hormone to sort of help it, okay? So that would be the easy one. Now, let's move on to something that might be a little more challenging, and that is these cuttings right here, which are the, use this, sorry, okay, which are the cuttings of the GE Neri. Now, I did have two of these. I have the potted one and the not potted one, right? So these two cuttings right here that I'm showing you guys, we are going to try to propagate them. So first thing I want to do right away is just remove every single leaf, all of them. These leaves are going to fall off anyway, so there is no reason whatsoever to keep them on right now, okay? They will only dehydrate our cutting. Now this skinny one, very small chances of survival. But coincidentally, we did cut it very close to the base. So we have one node here, another one here, another one here. So we've got about 3 nodes. I'm going to leave this cutting whole because there isn't really that much life force in here anyway. But for something like this, we could easily take 2 cuttings. It is a much hardier cutting, a little bit thicker. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nodes total. So we could easily take 2 cuttings. My opinion on this matter is when you do take these cuttings, please understand that the lower you go, the better chances of rooting you have, since the top part of the fig is greener, flimsier, and mostly focused on growth and not root production, okay? The basal part is more focused on root production, in my opinion, in my experience. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to leave this one whole, but I am going to cut this other one about in half or so, okay? Yeah, just about there, with not really believing that the top part is going to yield any roots at all, but this bottom part might. And again, this is just an experiment. We don't really need all these cuttings. We're mostly doing this for fun, okay? So, as before, I'm going to go on ahead and use rooting hormone, like so. Just kind of, tap it a little bit. I don't even know if that makes any difference. We'll have to run some experiments this winter and see if that makes any difference. All right, put that right there. And we are going to get our fig pop bags as before. And again, these are 12-inch fig pop bags, 2 mil, and they are 12 by 4s, okay? So I'm going to use my little scooper to scoop in basically 100% compost with just a little bit of perlite that I just put in there just to lighten things up. Not that you really need it, but I don't even know if it makes a difference, but I add it. It's fine. And the growing medium should be relatively moist. I mean, not too much, just about enough. Just about enough. And so looks like that. And at this point, I like to tap it down a little bit, like so. That way it condenses and there's more points of contact. Okay, so I'm gonna go on ahead and take my cutting, jam it in there, try to put as many nodes as possible under the growing medium, and then just maybe leave one or so above, one or two, depends on how many you have, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. I ran out of string, so I need to go get some of that, but we can always use tape or whatever. It doesn't really matter what you use, as long as it's nice and tight so it doesn't dry out. And so I'll do that later, and I'll do the same thing here for all of them. And as I do these, I make sure not to start any other fig cuttings so that I do not mislabel them, okay? So add about maybe 3 or 4 scoops of compost for these tiny little cuttings. We will be taking cuttings in the future, sometime this winter time, that are going to be 4 or 5 times as thick as these, and those are going to be the serious cuttings. Those are going to be the ones that we really want to propagate, because we will be maybe selling them or giving them away to friends and family. So those are going to be from our white Marseille fig tree. Right? So last cutting of the G.E. the potted G.E. You notice that we actually took several cuttings off that little potted little tree. So you can imagine how many hundreds of cuttings we can take off the giant white Marseille fig that we have here growing in ground. Okay. Now this tiny little one, guys, very small chances of survival. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get some twine and bring it back here so we can tie these up, and then I will go ahead and put some parafilm, label them, and set them to the side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here real quick, and I'll be right back with the twine. Alright, so I brought some twine from inside, and we really don't need that much, just a small piece, maybe about a foot or so. See if I can cut it here and show you guys how I do it. Just grab these and wrap it around the base tightly, not too tightly I guess, but tightly enough to where it does not dry out. And just a simple knot is good enough. Try to keep things simple and convenient. And then of course you should go on ahead and label these. This one was the G.E. Neri, but specifically from the potted tree that we have. Potted, okay. Put today's date, and yeah, that is it. That's all we need to do. I put it on a piece of tape like so, and I'll do that, and I'll do that for all of them. Okay, try to do this boring part as quickly as I can. All right. Okay, and just put that right on the bag of each one of these. And then the final step will be to take just a little bit of parafilm if you have it. If you don't, you can always use some plastic wrap or whatever, and put some of that around wherever you think that this thing might, might dehydrate, might dry out. So just kind of wrap that around that liberally, like so, and yeah, that way your fig, your little fig cutting does not dry out. If you run out of parafilm, have no worry. You can always cut a small piece and just add that. These tip parts do tend to dry out faster than the rest of the cutting since they're greener. But yeah, that is it, guys, and that is basically what the fig pop will do. I tend to raise these like so that way if there is any humidity that might be escaping out of here, well, I try to, create like a little dome, even though that is indoors. So it doesn't dry out too much. Now, I want to show you guys that even though the soil does look like it's very, very dry, you can see for the little bit of time that we've kept this outside, you can already see moisture building up on the walls of the bag. So this tells me that this is just about moist enough, and I do not need to add any more water to this. Later on, maybe 2 or so weeks from now, if we see that this thing is really, really dry to the touch, then we can add a little bit of water, bottled water preferably, distilled water, bottled water, tap water, whatever you want, doesn't matter, and get the job done. Okay, I'm going to go on ahead and pause the video there, since I'm noticing now that it is out of focus, and I'll get you guys on the next one.